Okay. Hi, everyone. We're just waiting for a few more people to join. We'll be starting shortly.
I think it's amazing with these virtual meetings, right? Where before you would, make sure you're in time in the physical meeting room and well ahead of time. And whereas now, the time the meeting comes up, it's exactly on the dot. You click the link to join the meeting, right?
Indeed.
Hey, Hugo. Not seen you for ages. You good?
Yes. Who's this? I can't see you.
Martin from Access Space.
Oh, hi. Hi.
Cool, Martin.
Nice to see you.
Yeah. Things seem to be going well.
Yes. Hi. Yeah. Thanks.
Sure.
Really nice to see you. It's been quite a few MozFests since we last saw each other.
Yeah. School hasn't really let me come down for a while, so this format fits me really quite well. It's annoying in other ways, but
yes.
But I can come down. So cool.
Great. I think we should probably get started, Frank. And
yeah, I agree with that. So just before we're starting off, so everyone's aware, we are already recording this session because we're also being live streamed on the YouTube channel, which I don't have the link for. I'm sure someone can drop the link in that if you want to follow this on Zoom and on YouTube at the same time.
Please don't.
Right, over to you, Hugo.
Great. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. My name is Ugo Valauri from the Restart Project in London, and I'm running this session together with...
I'm Frank. I'm from the Marlow Repair Cafe in the UK, and so we'd run a local repair cafe for the community.
Great. Well, to get us started, I'm gonna just say a few words about the European Right to Repair campaign, which today I represent in this event, and I'll just share a couple of things. I hope you can see my my slides. anyone that wants to learn or get involved straight away into the campaign, it's repair.eu. And we've been active for about a year and a half officially as a campaign. And it all starts with this, with a few people that are really passionate about helping everyone else realize that to repair, unfortunately, has become almost a rebellion. And we want this to change, and we want everyone to have the right to repair all the products that we own. We are currently a coalition of just over 40 members, active in 15 European countries, including all kinds of repairers, community repairers, professional repairers, sustainability activists, and community organizations. And we are campaigning for bringing change to repair regulations at European level, but also in each of the individual European countries, so not just within the EU. And why do we do this? We do this because we believe right now Europe has a unique opportunity to bring this change and inspire change in legislation everywhere else as well, so that products can be made in a way that can last longer, be more easily and affordably repaired, preventing waste and giving fairer access to products for people that wouldn't necessarily be able to afford buying again when something breaks. The pillars of our campaign work are that we want three things. We want products to be built with good design, and they should be designed to last and repair whenever we need them to be repaired. Everyone needs fair access to things like spare parts and repair manual, and ideally this should include all the schematics that will help you also repair a component level, something that no regulation anywhere in the world at this moment is even contemplating. And I'll come back to that. And also we want people, consumers, as people first and consumers second, to be informed when they make a purchasing decision. And that's why we think that manufacturers need to come very clean and transparent about the amount of support that they provide to everyone before you buy a product. And I'm not going to go into too much more detail, but there's plenty happening at European level. There's been a so-called Circular Economy Action Plan presented last year. There's a lot of discussions on so-called eco-design regulations that, and then there is a desire to bring a European-wide repairability index. What really matters is that while there's been a lot of talk about how Europe now has the right to repair, there's been a lot of positive press that the European Commission has received in the last few days, because as of the 1st of March, there's indeed been plenty of new regulations for the first time bringing access to spare parts for a certain amount of time and repair information and products built in a way that they can be more easily repaired. Unfortunately, this is just a very first small step that only concerns some appliances, and it also only applies in terms of access to spare parts and repair information for vast parts of this only to professional repairers and not to everyone. And that's why we need to change this, particularly as it might affect future legislation for other types of products, starting with smartphones. But I don't want to say too much about this, and I'll hand over to Frank, who is going to take us straight to our Miro board where everyone can introduce themselves.
And that's right. So this is meant to be a workshop, so there's no passive sitting and just listening. So I've posted a link to a Miro board in the chat. That should take you straight to the section for introductions. Fill in a speech bubble with your introductions, and there's some instructions there as well. Include whatever you want to include on there, include what you want to get out of the session as well. Once you've done that, scroll to the right and you'll find a quiz. And you can see, grab a ball and try to solve the quiz, and we'll come back to that once everyone's done this. I see there's a question about the Miro board. The Miro board is not part of the recording. So it's just this screen. Right, I guess, and see lots of people looking to learn more and looking to support the movement. That's exactly what we want to hear, and what we're expecting for people to do as a result of this session. Right, I can see there's one coder in there. We'll definitely draw on your skills later in the session as well, with a specific question for that. I guess while you're filling things out, I want to share a repair story already, actually. I think, Hugo, what do you think? Should we move to that while people are filling things out, or?
Go for it, definitely.
Go for it, right. Okay, so because you mentioned software, I think I've got a tablet here, which is a first generation Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1 from 2012. Obviously that runs Android 3.2, or used to run Android 3.2, and then that stopped being supported to the point where nothing was actually running out anymore. And so it's kind of what we touched upon in a previous session around built-in obsolescence, software barriers, and so on. So after a lot of research, it's now running some sort of hybrid version of Android 5 and Android 7, but yeah, basically running on open source software. So he's kind of showing what is possible to do if you have the knowledge and if you want to do the research and so on. So we'll come back to that later. I think someone has just joined, so I will just repost the link to the Miro boards for your introductions, and then for the quiz, you can see the first person has voted, which is excellent.
While you keep voting, I'll tell another similar parallel story about repair. I don't have the device next to me, but many years ago, over 10 years ago, I was using a strange Kindle DX. It was like a very oversized version of a Kindle that never really took off. It was theoretically to use for, well, reading large text. But guess what? The support for PDFs, which was all the text that I wanted to read on it, was terrible. And Amazon stopped supporting the software development of that device straight away, citing that it wasn't powerful enough to get the new features that the newer generation of smaller Kindles would have. But somehow someone magically extracted the full operating system from the newer generations and recompiled it so that it could be used or installed on this version of the device. And magically, all of a sudden, that same device was displaying PDFs much better, darker, more readable. And I went from being about to give up on the device of actually making a lot more use of it. And the manufacturer certainly wasn't helping. So it shows that the product you own can actually do more than what you are told, and can have a much longer life. So these were among the many inspirations that made me want to do more on all of this. See, people are voting, and there will be, after the vote, and there will be time for people to share their own stories.
Yeah, we'll do that in the breakout rooms. I think, shall we run through the quiz also for the YouTube listeners, if any? So the first question is, over 200 million smartphones are sold in Europe every year. That's 6.7 sold every second. But how long do they really last with the consumer? I think someone made a fair point. They never go away. I think it depends how you look at that, but how long do they really last on average with the consumer? So it's 2, 3, or 5 years. Still under debate, I think, as I see cursors moving around. Second question is, in terms of smartphones, how much waste does a 200-gram phone generate during production, including all stages of mining and manufacture? And it's between 23 kilograms, 47 kilograms, or 86 kilograms. And people are gravitating towards the larger end of that. The third question is, Europe is the largest generator of electronic waste per person in the world. How much do Europeans generate on average per year? And again, 7, 13, or 16 kilograms. Hugo, do you want to enlighten us with the answers?
Yes. So, well, studies show that smartphones last on average 3 years, which is 2 years less than what people would like them to last, according to surveys. Extending the lifetime of all smartphones in the EU by just 1 year would save 2.1 megatons of CO2 per year by 2030, which is the equivalent of taking over 1 million cars off the roads. Second question, unfortunately, each smartphone generates 86 kilograms of so-called invisible waste, which can include mining waste, slag, and other type of waste produced during the extraction of minerals and the manufacturing of the product. So those of you that went for the worst option were indeed right. And finally, equally, Europeans on average produce 16 kilograms of electrical waste every year. And so Europe ranked first worldwide in terms of electrical waste generation per capita. And so those that were pessimists there were absolutely right and spot on, which is the majority of people, for those of you on YouTube.
Unfortunately. Right, so we have shared our stories about repair. We're now going to break out into rooms. So there's one group that's going to stay in the main room, and then there is a group that's going to go into breakout room. So the breakout room is not recorded as far as I'm aware, and I would encourage you to switch on your cameras there for the interaction. Obviously, main room is recorded and live stream, so that might be different there. But yeah, so I'll post a link in the chat where you can capture your repair stories or your repair frustrations. Share them with the breakout room, and then we'll come back here to talk about that. Probably about 5 to 10 minutes.
I think there might be some problem with the
not working.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I'd set it up, but not, maybe not.
Can just
I see.
People quickly.
Sorry, I thought I had set it up. Right, I'll just click away.
Apologies for the live fixing.
All right. Okay, so the ones in here, I think, except for 2 people, are meant to be in here. So yeah, please tell us about your repair stories, or fill them in on the Miro board, or both. Does anyone have a great repair story to share, or a frustration?
I think most of the things that get repaired on the West Coast in the United States, they're made available to nonprofits and youth who can't afford new equipment. But there's always a performance issue. It's not even a personal consumer idea. With as much maker community as we have out here, we're still not being able to refurbish the things that can tackle a contemporary experience of the web, and apps.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to share?
Yeah, hey, I repaired some Nintendo Switch controllers, which was fine. It's relatively easy to do. I picked up all the bits just off of eBay, but I think what the frustration was for me was that the design was terrible, because as soon as you clip the controllers back together and screw them back together.
Oh. I think we lost Neil there mid-sentence. Sure. Mauro or Martin, did you have anything to share?
Possibly not. Well, I come from the easier end of things. I used to work for a charity doing PC reuse and recycling, and yeah, repairing PCs is still pretty easy. Unfortunately, that's not where the world is anymore. So, although having said that, I did spend the morning being very frustrated with an old PC. But in terms of where things are now, things break at school, and I'm just having trouble with almost everything, because I'm possibly not the right person for a lot of these things, but surface mounts just make things really difficult, and things are not as modular as they used to be. So makes
it's kind of more integrated, more compact, but yeah, potentially less repairable.
Yeah, at least for me, I've got huge hands and no skill, so. But repairing things on the software side, I'm really interested in, but I'm also not particularly great at just at the minute.
Great, thank you. Mauro, is there anything you'd like to share?
Interested really, because I'm coming from a journalistic background and not kind of repair background, but I'm thinking, just thinking how it got lost within kind of a generation. I don't know, because I remember my grandparents and parents always fixing stuff. They're always fixing stuff around the house, and I don't think I've done that over the last 15 years. And I'm just wondering how that in one generation, how that kind of gap went. I don't know, I mean, people still do it, they still do it around, but it's not as much. And I'm just curious to know how it changed and how we can go back to how it was when was easy to fix things. I'm just interested in that.
Is that the planned obsolescence that we've grown up with?
Yeah, there is definitely some of that, right? Right. Yeah, things are. I think what we hear at the Repair Cafe a lot is people have come with a toaster, let's say, and say, "Oh, I would like to repair this toaster," and they try to ask around, like, "Oh, how do we repair a toaster?" And the standard response is, "Well, just buy a cheap one from Amazon," and it's like, no, that's not the point. How do you repair the toaster? So,
before the pandemic, in the Northern California, that small workshops would come up in our maker spaces where people would just do repair, so there's a small movement inside of our maker culture to do that. The best is sewing clothes on the street corners for people that need their clothes repaired. It's my favorite. More analog.
Yeah, no, it's great. So I'm just gonna send a message to close the room and bring everyone back in here.
Thanks
we had
for
a very
insights.
nice script.
Yeah.
We had a very nice script with timings and so on, and we're not sticking to it at all. So I'm just trying to. Yeah, thank you everyone for sharing those stories. I think it's great. And I think hopefully the next bit is really where we want to focus, which is basically what can we do. And I think that the repairing of clothes, Suki, as you were saying, I think it's such a powerful thing as well. That in a previous session, I think there were a few sessions around actually a visible repair of certain clothing as a fashion statement. I think it's a really cool trend, and even I think there's North Face who are picking up on it as well with their backpacks and coats and so on. So yeah, it's great.
REI, I don't know if there's a European equivalent. You can send things back and they'll stitch them back together for you and send them. It's nice.
Right, I think we've got everyone back here. Are there any particular highlights from Breakout Room 1 that people want to share? Sorry, you got any particular highlights from Room 1 that you want to share and bring up?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Or anyone else is fine.
Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to share how I had like a 10-year-old MacBook, and at some point in my classes, I was supposed to use like the software, but then I couldn't run it on my computer, so I wasn't able to work on that part, and it was really frustrating because just because my operating systems was not the latest, I couldn't install something.
I mentioned a similar issue where I had to replace phone because there was an issue with the hardware and software compatibility. Phone just kept randomly resetting.
Okay. I think we go. Shall we move to the next part, which is the very exciting what can we do part?
Unmuting is helpful. So one of the it's excellent to get the range of stories from everyone. In the end, they all tend to include either something that was built in a way that cannot be easily fixed or conveniently fixed, or something where a piece of software is no longer kept up to date by the manufacturer and as a result, you have to give up, not at the time when you would have liked to move on, but much sooner. And this just absolutely has to stop. And what we are working on as a campaign is to help change this by bringing a lot more focus on particularly the software obsolescence part of the problem, because this is not yet included in any regulation whatsoever. And there is, in fact, only the requirements are that any software version, which could be version 1.0 of a product, could continue to be available for a minimum number of years as part of this recently approved regulation. Well, we need to change that, and we need to raise a lot more awareness of it. There is a positive development which has happened in France, which is, some of you might have heard of it. In France, manufacturers of 5 types of products, including smartphones and laptops, from 2021 are required to publish a score of repairability score, which includes various criteria, including the price of spare parts and the availability of software support and the availability of spare parts and the ease of disassembly. And what we find interesting here is that because this data will start to have to be made available, people will be able potentially to learn from this data and use that data to push for repair in other places, not just in France. And so we'll do a second round of breakout rooms, asking you to pick in your groups like a topic out of one of the 4 that we put in there. One is indeed on raising more awareness about software and how to target manufacturers in creative ways. So any ideas or thought about that would be amazing. What can we learn from the data that's becoming available, and how can we turn it into power for change? And how can we make right to repair more mainstream than it is? Because trust me, the policy making part of it is extremely slow, and we have to make it impossible to stop. Like, already we know that 80% of people around the world want it, but that doesn't seem to be enough to stop the lobbies that reduce the effectiveness of any legislative effort. So any idea, campaigning idea that you'd like to see us pursue, or that you would like to get involved in, we'd love to collect them and to turn them into actions with those of you that might be interested in sticking around and cooperating after the session as well. So we'll be splitting people again in small groups.
Yeah, and I'll try it again. I've mixed up the groups a little bit. All right. I think any ideas? Was there a particular topic that people wanted to pick up, or that people were interested in, or were there different topics where people here wanted to contribute?
I probably have the least experience, so I defer to others.
It's not about experiences, it's about ideas as well, right? In terms of creating awareness. So it's not necessarily the practical side of things that we're looking for. So it's around, policy making, around repairability data, software barriers to repair, but also anything else basically. So, yeah.
I seem to find that the thing that kills most of the dead tech that I have around my house is software and batteries. That seems to be those are the ones that are frustrating, because it's been created that way, kind of a capacitor going in something is wear and tear, and you need it to be designed well enough to be repairable. But the software thing, they do it on purpose, at least seemingly so, or at least through lack of thinking about it. So to me, this software block that you've got here is a great. I have no idea what did you put there, Frank? Sorry. Yes.
So
okay.
I put your comment about batteries and software, basically. Yeah, I mean it's twofold. So Hugo and I had a chat about the aspect of software. It's about the software being a blocker to repair. So with the examples of more, for example, cars or even agricultural machinery now relying on software, and the software actually being a barrier to a repair, as well as software not being maintained and therefore becoming, your product becomes like the tablet example I had. The object becomes obsolete because the software is not maintained or accessible or convertible.
Okay, this might be an entirely crazed idea, and Hugo can, or you, Frank, can tell me that there's a legal reason why this would be impossible. But would it not? If you're going to abandon a version or an entire software stack that's in a thing, can you not be obligated to open source it?
Yeah.
Or at least open source something that will give you the basic functionality.
Yeah.
Or even if it's just the docs to be able to do it, because having to reverse engineer things is the reason why so much stuff does not work. And also kind of what we now call jailbreaking. Surely at the point where somebody stops supporting the software, you shouldn't have to jailbreak your stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And those are actually regulatory things. Those could actually be, I suppose, achieved.
Yeah. Yeah, great. I think, sorry, it says lab, but I'm not sure. Your idea about the rent a bench. Did you want to elaborate on that in the session, or did you want to? No? Okay. Ariel, I see you're typing away. Is there something that you want to share with the group here or talk about?
I mean, I can sort of try and explain some of the. It's quite late here in the UK, so I'm like my brain function is decreasing, like my connectivity. As you were talking with Martin, I was thinking about software monopolies as a barrier that could be campaigned against around this, maybe. Mm-hmm. Like certain, so I think you started then talking about these monoliths of software. And then as you started talking about the usability or accessibility of software, like a lot of it is just impossible to use, and that is something that could be campaigned better. Actually, maybe it's not that it needs to be like repaired or broken, it's just not usable in its current function form and needs to be simplified, or and then the last thing, sorry
on that one, do you mean, so what do you mean with usable? Is it about documentation, or is it that it's not fit for purpose, or what do you mean with what's the solution to it, I suppose, is the what could be the solution to it?
I mean, not to kind of try and give myself more reason to exist, but I'm a user experience designer. But I think a lot of things are not user experience designed very well. So there's not, and I don't know of much campaigning around stuff to do with like that.
Okay, so basically make the software and then the tools more accessible to more people. You don't have to be an expert to do certain operations.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of complex systems that don't need to be as complex, I suppose. But then I guess you would repair them, quote unquote, repair them by trying to simplify them. But if they were made simple and usable in the first place, they wouldn't. Anyway. But then as you spoke about open source, don't get me wrong, I love open source as much as the next open source advocate, but it's not always the alternative to unusable, inaccessible, like hard to break / needing to repair things. In fact, yeah, I think a lot of it is as bad, if not worse.
It's all it's the accessibility argument doesn't go away with open source, right? Or the readability or okay. Darius, did you want to share anything? No. Okay. Suki, did you have any more ideas as we're talking, or examples from how things have happened in North California?
Yeah, I mean, here we are, we're up against an incentive for capitalism to take place. So the objective for climate change, for example, is taking a backseat to the objective for profit. So it's really hard. You can do policies. We could probably do policies at a local level here, or the state level. California is a large economy, and people look to California to model some of these things, but I haven't seen it in all of my democracy work at the state level. But I'm kind of taking a lot of notes and following up on all the references that are in the chat. So I don't think it's helpful to say, let's dismantle how these products are made, because we'd be dismantling industries, and it would, that's a very large scale public policy problem, but I'll look. Yeah, sorry about that. Depressing.
That's right. I mean, there are examples actually of phones, for example, that are completely modular. So I've got a Fairphone. So it's not being paid by them, but it's a great phone. It's completely modular, and you actually you can take it apart without any tools or with a standard screwdriver and replace modules. So there is actually, it's just, I think you're absolutely right about, it's not necessarily about dismantling the capitalist system or anything like that, but it's understanding that there are different business models as well, right, around repair, around spare parts that are currently not being accessed.
Yeah, for sure. It's at a very low volume here, but I think it could be powerful because we share the same frustrations.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else, or any other ideas? So maybe not necessarily on the different topics around software and repairability or policy making, but have you got ideas how you think you could help in your community or in your area or at work or something like that? Any thoughts on that? I guess, Ariel, you'd be campaigning for more user experience people to be employed more generally. But,
yeah, I mean, yeah, I suppose that would be nice for me and the others around. But I'm also trying to think about what I do at work. So I work at the Open Food Network, and we're all about short supply chains through open source tools. So I'm trying to think of, like, all the different kinds of things within agritech as well. And after I've had a think, I'll come back and see whether there's another thing that I can think of.
Great. And anything else, Martin or Suki, in there, or?
Sorry, I missed the last question. Somebody rang me.
Okay.
Where are we up to?
So this is just more in general. So how else? So not necessarily on a specific theme, but how else could you help with maybe at work or within the community or around you? Any ideas on how we can engage more people in the right to on the repair and awareness? So obviously I run a local repair cafe. I try to convince more people to think differently about repairing in general, and just having the concept that you can repair things. So that's I guess how I'm trying to approach that.
Yeah, I am an irregular attender at our local repair cafe, and had already decided with my other half, who happens to have just bought a flat around the corner from where it is, that I'm going to kind of, when they start up again, I will try and go more regularly to help. That, which is just going to, obviously just a personal thing. I kind of, one of the reasons I joined the session today, because whilst the campaign's moved on, the concept hasn't changed particularly since several MozFests and such like. What I actually turned up for was, I think I can, like, I'm an educator. I teach kids who are doing computing and starting off on a career, and being open and writing kind of resilient software that, and thinking about environmental issues and stuff is stuff that we do, but I haven't actually started integrating like right to repair, and we've raised the issue of sustainable thinking in design, but we haven't. I have no idea how you do that. So I don't have a clue how to teach it, because I actually don't know.
So is it about getting the right tools or the language, or what do you think is?
So one of the aspects of designing IT systems in a modern world is making sure that it is cyber secure. And I know how to think about that. I have been on training about cybersecurity, and I have an idea of the kind of things I need to be teaching the kids as fundamentals when they first start programming, about validating stuff. And I know how to teach them about really advanced, fairly advanced techniques to attack their stuff, which means that they know how to defend it. I have no framework for that when it comes to the environmental side. other than try not to make it out of heavy metals. Try to kind of try not to rely on massive cloud structures or do stupid things like generate massive random numbers for no good reason. Why did we think that Bitcoin was a good idea? What?
That's a separate discussion. I think.
But yes, but you see what I mean. I don't. Yeah. So I have no framework from which to then teach other people. So yeah, a basic course, as Lab just said. Anybody got any clues?
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, Martin, did you mention like what kind of, excuse me if I don't get this right, but what kind of young people, is it young people that you are educating?
So I work in a computing specialist school. We do IT courses around designing things and A-level and GCSE computing and stuff like that. So, but we do it fairly practically. So we have a whole bunch of employers who set challenges and stuff like that. So
right. Yeah, young people, it's hard with anything. Well, not always hard, anything tech. I remember I judged a computer, some kind of have you built some software competition, and I was very sad about the gender balance of people. Wanted more of people that look like me.
We are working on this, looking for ideas constantly.
Yeah, so I guess, you know, I wonder sometimes if it's not necessarily about the content, because the content makes sense when you get there with it, like the idea of repairing, actually the process of it, working with tools, working with tech, working with chips, it's fun. But I think it's the relational make it relevant to me with, that's what I found when I've very limited work with young people, like I defer to your like length of service, but they can also smell a rat like a mile away, right? So if you feign an interest, they will get it immediately. So if you're like, oh yeah, I love music, I'm cool. I've made that mistake before trying to, I like that I'm kind of eliciting some laughs. But yeah, I guess like I started to get better results when I genuinely was like, okay, what is this genre of music? Oh, okay, right, I can appreciate this for this. And hey, here's a synthesizer you can build out of bits, you know, to make something like, anyway, you know, yeah, sorry, rambled.
But having them do stuff that interests them and solves their own problems has always been my most powerful way of getting stuff done. So like, no, don't get off topic. So you're not wrong, but they are almost all of them pretty concerned about like environmental issues and very frustrated when stuff breaks and they can't sort it out. And conversations about Fairphones come up fairly frequently. No, I don't know anybody that has yet, out of our group, no, one actually, out of a group of, I'd say 50 kids altogether, one has gone for a Fairphone, but everybody else has gone, power. So, yeah, so, but the conversation has been there, but mostly about the modularity and repair and being able to keep things going. So, sorry.
Great. Yeah, I think we've got everyone back. I think starting to share about our session, the last part of the conversation was mostly around education. Not sure, Martin, did you want to pick out some points of what you mentioned? I think your comparison to, sorry, might as well do it because an artist, you don't know what we're going to try as well. I thought your comparison of saying, well, in IT design, in software design, you teach people cybersecurity and how to protect for cybersecurity. We don't teach them how to build in repairability or maintainability. So I think something around that, some sort of framework for teaching that in software level, I think is a really interesting thought.
Yeah, definitely. But I would. I'm just going to try and. I think somebody's already doing a box for that.
Yeah, I've taken the liberty of doing that, Martin. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to share anything with the bigger group or something that came out of the other breakout room? I think Hugo, do you want to?
Sure. I don't want to be the spokesperson for our group, but there was very fruitful conversations. It mostly revolved on, what we need to improve campaigning and to make it more effective. And one, I'll just say a couple, and then people can look at some of the notes. But framing being crucial, just to make it not just about right to repair as a tinkering thing that people love because they want to tinker, but appreciating more the connections between the push we want to see in the north of the world with the real issues that are experienced by people in the south of the world, in the global south, particularly around the environmental consequences of this insane mining and use of resources due to our voracious appetite for these devices, and also the fairness about equality of access to products that more right to repair could ensure, and also making it unacceptable that products are just put out on the market that are simply not repairable. As in, it's while the law isn't there yet, the real change can happen if we decide that just certain things cannot be accepted, full stop, and cannot get reviews that are so glaring, like etc.
Yeah, Annie, did you want to
maybe to say others that were
sorry.
in that conversation?
Here you go. Annie has put her hand up, so she wants to share something.
Something I saw, I think on ifixit.com or the repair website, the Repair EU, is how having repair shops makes it so that we have more local jobs. And one way to spin this could be that when we have the right to repair, it's kind of like supporting local businesses, because if the manuals are available, there are going to be more local technicians in your area who can fix the device for you. So by campaigning for the right to repair, you're campaigning for creation of more jobs around this area, and supporting local technicians. So and I think that's always something that's kind of good to advocate for. So that's like one way to frame this movement.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea about local jobs and empowering people in the local economy. Yeah, I think that's great. Is there anything else that anyone would like to share? In the last at least 1 minute, if not 2 minutes, we've got some actions for you to do to go away after this. So here you go. Do you want to go with the actions?
Oh, hang on. I've got a.
Sorry, Martin. Go on. Yeah.
I'm having a half-mad idea. More repairable means, well, more repairable. Surely retailers and or insurers would have an angle of, like, in cycling, there's been a rash of new types of insurance companies that have come out of a couple of changes in rules that look at insuring a bike completely differently. It's a bit weird, but surely there is actually business models that would make people profit by pushing you towards like lower prices on insurance, because if your things are more repairable, which but I know nothing about money.
Yeah, I think it's
very interesting. And in fact, insurers are the ones that have some of the best data on products actual need to be repaired, but they don't release it very much at all. So that's a very, very good point. I think we will need to leave this meeting very soon. I don't know whether we get, hopefully not shut down randomly, but well, first I wanted to thank everyone, and just I'd love to stay in touch with those of you that would like to stay in touch. I've added my own Twitter handle, and I'm also myself on the MozFest Slack, and I know Frank as well is. So ping us there if you'd like to. And if you like to keep in touch with the campaign, you can join with the newsletter at repair.eu. We also tend to be quite active under the hashtag Right to Repair. And if you know of any organization that would like to join this campaign, put them in touch with repair.eu. And am I missing anything, Frank?
Or just typing a message in the chat there. So yeah, you can also join restarters.net if you want to talk to like-minded repairers. So both Ugo and I are on there, always ready to help out with starting up your local repair network or helping out or anything like that. So yeah, we've got no excuse to avoid us if you want to stay in touch, and would love to hear from you all.
And yeah, very, very rich
so much for coming.
Thank you. And oh yeah, sorry, we didn't put that. Well, we'll add them to the Miro, which will stay available anyway. So we'll add a few of the links there as well.
I just want to say that the Miro link goes away from the schedule, but it's if you have it open, it'll still be accessible, but it's just if you close it, you'll have to reach out to somebody else to get to it.
Okay. Very useful. I didn't know that bit.
You probably have it in your email, the link.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. And yeah, to be continued.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, great session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Recording stopped.